Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today, our guest is Kaykay Singh. Thanks for being on the show, Kaykay.
Thank you very much, Brittany. It's my pleasure to be on your show.
Kaykay is a successful multi-business owner owning multiple gas stations and convenience stores, laundromat, and 40 single-family homes, rentals in the Northeast Indiana, and multifamily syndicated. He's been in multifamily syndicated deals in several locations in the U.S., has over 18 plus years business experience in U.S. and always seeking expansion opportunities. So, Kaykay, to get us started, elaborate a little more on your background and, how you got into the real estate business. Obviously, you're a businessman. You come from the gas stations and operating many businesses successfully. But how did you come from that into real estate?
Well, I came into United States in 2001, and as a software engineer. I was a Microsoft certified system engineer and lost my job after 9/11 and moved on to the gas station business since I had friends who were in the gas station business in Indianapolis. So I partnered with them in a gas station business and started from there. And over these 18 years, I acquired 7 more gas stations in the Fort Wayne area. And then also I built a laundromat from ground up, a very high-tech, a unique laundromat in 2012 when there was a recession. And in 2015, old tired landlord, he walked up to me at the church and offered me to sell me his 33 single-family houses. And it was something new for me. I have never thought of being in real estate business. Though I was in real estate business, I owned a lot of real estate in India. And also I owned several properties of the gas stations, but I never knew I was in the real estate business. So I started talking to him, and I didn't show much interest in the beginning because I didn't want to be in this business. I have never done this business, but he offered me self-financing for a year. And also he offered that he's going to help me for a year. So that attracted me a little bit, and we bought 33 properties from him. And I started managing myself to learn the real estate business. And when we bought these properties, I didn't know ABC of real estate. And because he was a very respectable person in our community, so I just trusted him and started this real estate business.
Wow. So I can see how that would be inviting, though, if he's offering to help you for a year. How did you lay some of that out? That you were confident that, okay, he's really going to help me for a year and not just say, see you later once the deal's done.
Well, because as I told you, he's a very respectable person in our community. I trusted him very well, but after about 10 days, I let him go. So because I let him go because he was old school, he had done this for 40 years. At one point, he had 150 houses, and he had done everything on papers. And since I was a software engineer, I didn't want to do all that in the paper. So after 10 days, I asked him to take rest and I'll manage myself. And I moved everything online. And I did some research and moved everything online. And I let him go after 10 days.
Wow. So, I mean, you had a high level of confidence, obviously, but you had ran many businesses. You knew about how to run a business. This was just a little bit different than maybe some of the others, right?
Correct. So it was a business. I knew there was a lot of information online, and I read some books, and I started moving everything to buildium.com, and everything was there. And I got all that information from online, all kind of forms, etc. So I knew I was more confident that I would do that in less time and less energy. So I just do it 3 days a week, 3 hours a week, 3 hours a day. So 9 hours, I spent about 9 hours to manage all those 40 properties.
Nice, nice. So, you mentioned you started using Buildium, and I was going to ask you for some ways that you improved things. You talked about his old school ways of everything on paper, and give us some ways that you really turned those around and ways you improved that business.
Well, first of all, when I moved everything to Buildium, the communication was too good. I didn't have to call them. It was all through the Buildium. And also they started paying online, and they felt, since he was doing all old school, he was waiting there for them to bring money. And I did not wait. I did not sit in the office. I just have them pay online and gave some incentives so that they started paying online. And it's easy. It comes directly to my bank.
So, what are some other ways maybe that you track things, or maybe some other technology you use that we would normally know about?
Well, I use PDF filler for all my leases. So I have online signatures. They can sign from anywhere. They can sign on their phone. So I have online, and I send them, I upload the leases to the portal, and all they can, even if they have a faucet leak, they can send me a request through that, and I can send it to my maintenance guy. And so it's pretty easy rather than calling anyone or tackling with any other problems. So I made everything use the technology to make my life easy.
So Kaykay, so you bought this portfolio, now you're in the real estate business, really in the real estate business, right? Now you're, managing these rentals, and you've turned this business around. What happens next?
Well, we had time and we had the team in place. So we started flipping, and we flipped a few houses. We made up money, but we did everything wrong because we didn't educate ourselves, but we did everything wrong. We still made some money, I think. And also we ended up paying all that money in taxes. So I started looking for something where we can taxes, because I always heard that real estate is something about saving taxes, and we end up paying more taxes. So I started researching, and then I came through some articles and some other educations that multifamily is the way to go, so that you can save money on taxes. And we moved on to multifamily immediately. We bought 7 more houses from his son, and we did all that creative financing and all that in buying those houses too. We didn't put any penny from our pocket, and we just bought those 7 houses from his son. And so it became 40 altogether. And we immediately moved to multifamily. We started looking at like 50, 60 units, 70 units in that kind of range. And we did offer the bids on 4 properties, and every time we got outbidded. And then I realized that we were doing something wrong, because we started buying the same way we bought the houses. And multifamily is a much complex business than the single family. So I realized after giving 4 LOIs that we were doing something wrong. And then I started researching and found this syndication. So before I started learning much about syndication, I started finding syndicators and followed some syndicators and went on bigger pockets to learn about syndicators. And then I followed some syndicators, and I invested in one deal to learn. So I invested $50,000 in one deal in Dayton, Ohio, without much knowledge and just to get started. And we met with this syndicator also and asked some questions. But once we got into the syndication business with the investment in one property, I started researching more, and I attended some boot camps, and I learned a lot, read more books, listened to a lot of podcasts. I think every multifamily podcast that I still listen. Every day I listen at least one podcast daily. So I learned a lot in short time, and I invested in 6 more properties. So the first year we invested in 2, and then the next year, means 2018, we invested in 5, and we gave offers on 4 properties.
Nice. Nice. So, that first syndication deal, where you invested to learn, to really learn more about the business. And what are some big takeaways that you learned, as investing as a passive investor on that first deal?
First of all, I made my criteria after the first deal. It wasn't before that. When I started, I just invested. I met that syndicator. I went to that property. I met the property management, and I saw that it was in a good location, good property. I invested 50,000 and started learning. And then after that, reading some books and learning about the syndication business, I made a criteria, which I have here. And I followed strictly that criteria and found some other syndicators, because I wanted to diversify. I didn't want to just invest with the one syndicator. So I followed some other syndicators and found that they had properties. They have done a good job, and I joined some online groups and talked about there, and networked with some people who had invested or taken coaching from them. So I started learning about them and following that, and then slowly I started investing. And this year we invested in 5 more apartment complexes.
So, as a passive investor, let's talk to the listener who is thinking about investing in their first syndication, or maybe they've invested in a couple as a passive investor. And so what are some key things that they need to think about when they're first developing that relationship with a deal sponsor, or just trying to find one in general?
Well, I always urge or request other people that they should be doing the background checks. They should be researching, because there is a lot of information online. These days, you can do background checks, spend $15, $20, or join some groups which do, like there's a group called 506. So they do their own due diligence about the syndicators, and there's a lot of information on there, so that you can see if they have cheated somebody, or they have done something wrong, or are they paying on time. So that's what I did. I talked to some people who had already invested, and I got the references from them too. But not just the references from them, but I did my own due diligence about the first I did, because if a syndicator is a good person in a good company, they can turn a bad deal into a good deal. A bad syndicator can turn a good deal into a bad deal. So I have seen track record of these syndicators, and then I followed my criteria. If they met my criteria, the deal met my criteria, I invested in that.
Was that company that you said that does the background checks 506? That's the name of it?
Yes, 506 Group.
506 Group. Okay.
Yep.
So, could you go in a little more in depth, maybe a few points of your criteria when you're looking for that deal sponsor?
Okay. On the deal sponsor or the deal?
First, the deal sponsor. We'll talk about the deal in a minute.
Well, the deal sponsor, mostly I do my due diligence on Bigger Pockets and online. And also I have met one of them personally. I have invested with 3 of them. And with one, I have invested in 5 syndication deals. I have never met him. I have talked to him over the phone. And he's very responsive. I'm not going to say his name here, but he's very responsive, very good syndicator, and he has kept his words, whatever he said. And I talked to him about 5 minutes only before I invested with him. And I have invested more than $500,000 with him. And I always get my payments on 21st of every month. So I did some background checks to start with, but most of my due diligence I did over the bigger pockets, what other people say. And there are some articles about there are some articles about the syndicators who have done a good job and their track record is good. These days, since online forums, people just go online and immediately write if something went wrong with somebody, or somebody cheated, or somebody lied to someone. They can always go to bigger pockets and write it down, their experience. But I have followed them, that they have done good experience, and they had, and I try to invest in value add properties. So they have done these value adds, and they have done these on time, and they have paid what they said. So that's how I do my due diligence.
Nice. So, without saying who it is, obviously, this person obviously made a big impression on you to just talk to them for 5 minutes. And, then you knew enough, or you were confident enough in their ability. Are there a couple other things that stood out? I know their track record, their history, you searched them on bigger pockets, but, anything else that stood out for, those that are trying to gain that same respect from investors?
And also, I have attended their boot camps. So that was a good relationship. And I listen to their podcasts all the time. So rather than talking over the phone, when you're listening to their podcast, you can easily realize how intelligent or how correct the people are. And I listen to their podcasts all the time.
Nice. So, let's talk about that deal now. How you vet that deal as a passive investor. How do you know that deal is something you're ready to invest in?
Well, I try to match those deals. I have a comparison chart, Excel sheet on my computer. I always, from offering memorandum, I always move all the things that I have in the list. So I move all those and compare with the previous deals, and it doesn't matter whether I have invested in that deal or not. But I always, whenever I get a deal from a sponsor, I always move all the data from that offering memorandum, like the cap rate, reversion cap rate, purchase price, LTV, rate of interest, number of units, and all kind of information that is in. So I have prepared an Excel sheet where I do all this comparison, and then I check that if it meets my criteria. It should be in a strong growth market in a metropolitan city. I don't try to invest in tertiary markets. When you're investing in passive deals, you have those choices, and then I always look for conservative underwriting, and I look for closer to 18% IRR. I know 18% is hard to get these days, but still there are deals there where you can get 18% IRR. And I always invest in deals where there's a preferred return, maybe closer to 8%. And then I look at the waterfalls, how they structure the waterfalls, and B or C plus properties I invest in, value add properties. So these are some of my criteria when I look at these deals and bet on those deals and invest in deals. Because I get 10 deals, I invest in one, sometimes even more than 10 deals. And I don't receive emails from every syndicator. I just have a few that I receive deals from.
Right.
And I invest in about like 200 plus units only.
Are you tired of answering emails from investors about when they'll receive their K-1s? Let the Real Estate CPA handle the accounting and taxes on your next syndication, and they'll file your tax returns by March 15th so you can get your K-1s to your investors by the individual filing deadline on April 15th. Not only will this reduce headaches, but it will help you retain investors over the long term by improving investor experience. the Real Estate CPA is now offering a special virtual workshop to the listeners of the Real Estate Syndication Show on how to answer tax-related questions from your investors. Learn more today by visiting therealestatecpa.com/syndication. So you mentioned waterfalls. So, somebody that's a passive investor that's listening and has never heard that term before and doesn't know what you're talking about, could you just explain what that means a little bit?
Well, waterfall is a structure that a syndicator presented to you, that how much of the profit that the syndicator is going to get, which is the GP, general partner. And because I have always invested as a limited partner, LP, so waterfall is the division between for the profits, how much. So the GP gets the 30%. That means the sponsor gets the 30%. The limited partners that are investors like me, they get 70%. And then there are sometimes hurdles in there that if they achieve like 15% or 13% IRR, after that the split is going to go down, so 50-50. So there are several types of waterfalls, and some of them I've seen are 80-20 direct. So the 20 goes to the general partner and 80% to the limited partners. But some syndicators these days know some markets, and especially because I think because of the Amazon effect, people thought of, and previously I have seen with the same syndicators, the investors have made like 40% IRR. And I think they want a bigger share out of that. So they have hurdles that when you make 18 or 20, then after that, the split is going to go down. So you're going to get 50-50 instead of 70-30.
Are there certain things about the waterfall that you would say, oh, no, I'm not going to do that, or, that would be a red flag?
I am a little reluctant to invest in waterfalls which has hurdles. I like straight 70-30. And, but if the deal is good and 18%, if I make 18%, I think I'm okay with that.
So you mentioned the conservative underwriting. So give us some big red flags or big things that would stand out that would show me that the underwriting is not conservative when I'm wanting to invest passively.
Okay, here's an example, which I don't like. A lot of times when you see their rent rates go up 3% or 2% all the time, I have never seen in my like 4 years experience that the rent goes up all the time. There's always a time when the rent will either be flat or maybe even come down a little bit. And if they have a 7-year, I invest in 5 or 7 years exit. So even for 7 years, the rent can not always go up for 7 years continuously. It has to come down. So if the market rate is 5, if let's say for Dallas, example for Dallas, it's about 5% every year over the last 5-6 years. So if they do 3%, that makes sense. So that if it comes down or flattens a little bit, so that is one thing I consider as conservative underwriting. And the second thing is the exit cap, reversion cap, which is called. I look at that also. Sometimes they'll buy it at 5% and then they can sell it at 5%, or maybe 5.125%. And that half a percent in the reversion cap rate make a lot of difference in the purchase in the sale price. So let's say the cycle of the real estate, now everybody is saying that there's going to be at least a correction. I wouldn't say a recession like we had back in 2008 or 9. At least we're going to have a correction. So the rates are going to go down. So a lot of my investments, they do sensitivity analysis. They show me, okay, if the reversion cap rate is 6, then they will show me 5.75, 5.5, So they show all those in the sensitivity analysis where you can see, okay, if that, and also I have some calculators which sometimes I use myself to do my own underwriting to see if that works. So if the rate of interest goes by 0.5%, so if somebody has like 2 years of fixed rate of interest, and then they have to refinance or they have a bridge loan, and I always try to see those things that the numbers look genuine and realistic.
I appreciate you explaining that, KK. And would you tell us what's been the hardest part of the syndication business for you so far?
So far, I'm having a little hard time finding a property, a right price. You can find a lot of properties, but the right property that will work in this cycle of the real estate. I'm not saying that there are no deals, but it's hard to, even if you're finding a deal off market, they won't even list for that price that they are asking. The broker won't even list, because when it comes to they check it with the cap rate, etc., it won't work. So it's this time of the cycle, the real estate cycle, it's hard to find good deals. Everybody knows it's a hot market. Even if they'll will not list with the broker, they're going to ask a lot more money.
So what's a way that you're trying to find deals right now that maybe somebody else wouldn't be?
First of all, I'm looking at a bigger unit, like over 100 units building. So I'm trying to partner with the like-minded people. I have talked to several people, and this is something, and I'm not good at finding properties. I've never done that. So there are people who can do cold calling, and they have links and whatever, they can find some deals. So I would, since I have the net worth and liquidity, I would partner with somebody who I think is a genuine partner and has the knowledge, and I have been talking to several. And especially when I go to these boot camps, because there are like-minded people who want to get in the business or who are in the business already, I like to have a partner who has walked this way before me.
That's the best kind, isn't it? The ones that are more experienced.
Yes.
So what's a way that you've recently improved your business that we could all apply to our business?
Okay, after I attended Rod Cleef's camp, I'm going to name Rod Cleef here. I don't like to, promote, but
no, it's good. It's fine.
He does such a good job, so I have to name here. After I attended his camp and I followed his schedule, he says, and purchase a property in 90 days. I at least gave a LOI within 90 days. So I followed every step in his workbook. I formed a new company. I have my own website, and I have my investor list. I have signed up for Zoom. I have signed up for Podio. I have my MailChimp account. I have organized everything. Even I have my digital card. So if I don't have my cards with me, and I have, we started a group, online knowledge sharing after that. And we did a lot of underwritings in that group. We used to do Tuesday night. We used to underwrite a property. And also I signed up for inodo.com. And I try to do my underwriting through that, and also do comparables and all kind of new stuff and easy and quick analysis.
Awesome. Yeah, Inodo. I've had Mark Rudson on the show. We've talked about Inodo. So what's the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
I think since I realized that education, you must invest in yourself before. That's my motto for now. You must be motivated also, and you must invest in yourself before you invest in real estate.
I like that. I like that a lot. It's a must. It's
It
not going to happen.
It is a must, and it can, real estate can, I mean, ruin all your retirement money or whatever kind of money you have, if you are not trained, if you don't have the knowledge. And fear is overridden by knowledge. So because every time you want to give an offer, you will be afraid, oh, what if this happens? If you have the knowledge, so you won't fear. I don't fear now because I have the knowledge.
Nice. I like that.
So, until I didn't have the knowledge, I was always afraid to give an offer.
I like that a lot, KK. Would you tell the listeners how they can learn more about you and your business?
I have a website, and it's growrichcapital.com. And my cell phone is 260-341-1964. And your listeners can send me a text. I'll send them my digital card, which is here. So I have a digital card, which they can make free on dbiz.com. And it has my website, it has my email, it has my phone number, my fax number, all kind of information. It has a link to my website also. So they can learn more about me, and also they can learn more about the multifamily business.
Nice. Thank you so much.
I have a lot of information on our website. Why should you invest in multifamily? A lot of information there.
Thank you so much, KK. You've provided a lot of value, and especially to the passive investor and how people can get started in this business like you have. And I hope the listeners will connect with you, and I also hope listeners will go to our Facebook group where you can learn from experts like KK, and we can all grow our business together and ask questions. And you can actually submit your questions to me for guests on the show that you'd like me to ask live. And then also go to LifeBridge Capital, where you can schedule a call to connect with me, and I'll try to help you any way I can. And we will talk to the listeners tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you for having me, Whitney.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.